Hello, and welcome to my presentation on the fraud that occurred at Wirecard. So, what is Wirecard? Wirecard is a German payment processor and financial service provider, and they collapsed in 2020 after this fraud was brought to light. They were charged with fraud and market manipulation, fudged accounts, fabricated revenues. It was said that half of their revenue did not exist, and 1.9 billion euros were missing from its balance sheet. They're also charged with embezzlement, and they also were said to have processed payments for crimes such as pornography and online gambling. It is also said that they generated fake transactions for an audit. So, a lot of bad things going on there. These were the key parties in the case. Oliver Bellenhaus, he's the one on the right with the mask. It's kind of COVID times. He was the head of Wirecard's subsidiary in Dubai. He ended up actually turning himself in 2020 and became a key witness in the case. And then there's Marcus Braun. He was the CEO. He's the other picture on the bottom. According to Oliver, he's the one who gave the orders. Oliver kind of blamed him for most of it, that everyone had a blind loyalty to Braun and followed him. But Braun's lawyers in the case actually argued that Bellenhaus was the main perpetrator of the fraud, which Bellenhaus did admit to being a perpetrator in the fraud and actually apologized for it, and that he was a big part of it. It doesn't state a lot of other Wirecard employees by name, but Bellenhaus did state that Von Urfa would brief employees on the amounts to offset the gap between the target and the firm's real operation. So, overstating revenues, obviously, that was a part in that as well. But Oliver Bellenhaus and Marcus Broom were the main cases. Not sure how long he was in prison, if he was in prison for a long time. I don't even know if he got out. Bellenhaus might have been released from jail, but I didn't want to pay the $50 to find out. So here are the relevant fraud risk factors. These were all quotes by Bellenhaus in the case. Um, Bellenhaus felt pressure in that this company, he said, Wirecard was my identity. So obviously he didn't want this to come out. He felt personal pride in his work and he didn't want to be known as a fraud. He also stated Braun gave the marching orders, never followed. So this kind of explains why there was no opportunity there. Braun was the CEO. Everyone was following him. Everyone was in on it. There was opportunity to fudge the numbers. It's hard to say a rationalization for this case, and we only know somewhat what Bellenhaus has stated, especially because Braun and other employees denied their involvement. But some rationalization is that Bellenhaus said that this blind loyalty to Braun occurred, so maybe that might be why he rationalized it, although that's not an excuse. But all this comes from Bellenhaus. It's unknown the pressure rationalizations from Braun and the other employees. So, what lessons can we learn from this case? So, I say this in pretty much every case I cover, but address ethical issues before they snowball. One of the things they said in this case was small lies become big lies. That's what Bellenhaus said. So don't get to the point where you have to turn yourself into the German government. If you recognize something's wrong, you know, report it. Don't be involved in it, which is kind of the last points, the importance of whistleblower protections. It might be a stretch for this case, but maybe another employee would have reported this earlier if they felt safe in doing so and stopped this a lot earlier. And then also the second point is the importance of audits and the importance of professional skepticism in those audits. Another source said that the three main people in the fraud, were really worried about a forensic investigation by KPMG and also an audit by EY. And it's really important that those firms had professional skepticism to look into these cases, especially because they were working really hard to conceal the fraud. And that was the fraud at Wirecard. So thank you for watching.